about election discrepancies, regarding poll booths. So what I learned and connecting that with Tripura, I feel we have been celebrating a lot the NET qualifiers here, the toppers here, the PhDs here. But I find a significant gap in knowledge building, in knowledge making when it comes to Tripura and our journalism per se. I find specifically a huge gap in literature here. We are encouraging our students, or at least the department and other aligned bodies are encouraging the students, the young professionals to take up journalism, but I don't think we are yet aware of the consequences of or the repercussions that it could have of our ignorance towards what we are doing. We are very much driven towards how we could generate money. These days, YouTube is there. So we actually have no barrier when it comes to knowledge production and knowledge proliferation. So what I think is we need to build that in ourselves, or at least I think the teachers, the professors have a huge responsibility in teaching the young minds the research mindset. It is actually pretty much missing. When I look at the Tripura scenario, it's pretty dismal. And it appalls me to look at young journalists, young professionals with bright potential who could actually reach heights, but they are not being shaped into what they could become. And where are we missing? I think we are missing hugely on in terms of education, educating. No, when I talk about education, I don't mean the degrees. I don't talk about the subjects per se, or कितने marks हमने कमाए, कितने marks हमने लाए हैं, कौन topper है नहीं है. Actually, I don't mean education in those terms. What I am trying to mean is we have to educate our young minds or aspiring media professionals. We have to teach them about the responsibilities, and we also have to teach them about research. So I have seen it is a pretty rampant and prevalent tendency in Tripura and elsewhere that we spread fake news. It's a huge problem in...
Yeah, can we take that letter? Because it's very interesting, and this should be answered by another active journalist who had been into the field for several years. So she has highlighted about the kind of fake news, the kind of unrealistic news, the need for proper media literacy for the journalists to be trained. What's the missing link that you found? Either Devraj or Vishwendu, can you answer on this? And how much or what level both of you are satisfied as a media academician and also practicing journalist? Vishwendu will be the right person to answer this, and with very carefully.
Good afternoon. It's my proud privilege to be here and to address you all. So, usually I don't talk those issues which are most controversial. But here I believe this group is our group and we can speak freely. I just take away something from this madam told. I have a little different idea and my understanding. If we talk about the media is nothing but a product. When there is no choice, if it is a market and if you have the number of choice, the same product in a different brand, then you can go for comparative understanding or comparative choice. But media is a product where you can, if you like, you can take, if you don't like, you can reject. But when you are talking about the responsibility, I don't feel the journalist has more responsibility than a good citizen. A good citizen is having some responsibility which is given by our constitution. So journalist is not beyond that. But if we say the literacy or education, I have a different meaning. Literacy is something that how you perceive. And education is something which is driven by certificate. But if we talk about the skill development, this is the missing link. I think the skill development is to be the core of our JJMC department. Because we have literacy, we are literate, Media literacy, if we talk about the media literacy, we know what is media, how media functions, what kind of information we sell tomorrow. Because I usually tell my people, they see, what you see, it is not an issue. What I see on my eyes, my two eyes, the 40 lakhs people of Tripura will see Tripura tomorrow. So you are not a matter, you are simply a consumer for me. And I am the producer. So if I look it in a turning eye, so this entire product will be taken a dishing. So as a good citizen, my responsibility will be to take a lenient view. Lenient view means because my understanding doesn't matter. That's why they say it is something like Mahabharata, where Sanjaya is just narrating to Dhritarashtra, and all of us still, after so many centuries after, we are just studying this, what is this, why this was happened. So I think role of media should be like a Sanjay. We all are Sanjays. But if someone questions about the Sanjay's understanding, whether Sanjay has seen it properly, or whether it was correct, actually it was happened or not, it's a question of mistrust. So I believe this today's society, we are just lacking of skill. We have education, we have literacy, we need the skill development. Because a lot of students are coming out from universities and colleges. I have exposure to West Bengal also. I have some connection with some universities and colleges. So I find they are producing every year hundreds of students, those who are getting degrees. Of course, their market is large, so their opportunities are big. But even then, there is a large gap of skill development. So my submission to all of you to be is whatever marks or whatever degrees you are, it is definitely means a lot. But skill development is our future. So, and skill development should not be like that. If you like photography, you have to develop your skill on photography only. If you like film industry, or you have affinity with the videography, so you go there, go with videography. If you feel that I am a good writer, I want to write, so you develop your skill on writing only. And there is no dearth of opportunities in India, I am telling you. Because a lot of jobs are around us, but we are not getting the person who will be the fitting to that particular job role. This much I can say. I think Devraj can add.
Before that, let me just... So maybe another panelist can take over to what he said. So a very pertinent questions that what comes out from what Vishnu said is that we need skill development. So which means it's a big time for all of us to question amongst ourselves whether we are, he also said about the mistrust, whether it is a mistrust of our education system or mistrust of the news content, or are we not efficient enough by whatever degrees we get. If it is so, should we send our children for such kind of education in the system? If so, what should be our next move? Because all of you are media graduates now. Honestly speaking, there are also less of opportunities, which all of you will agree to that. Now, Devraj had been completing his PhD. Next is the postdoc. But what next? What society and the government can give you? I myself had an experience of coming back after my graduation in media technology. There was no opening. Me and my father, there was a lot of age gap between me and my father. He looks almost like my grandfather. So as a boy of 20 to 21, crying, we walked there. We have gone bank to bank looking for 3 lakh rupees of loan because I wanted to open a studio. But the mindset of the people is that, hey, তুমি কি এটা মুম্বাই মনে করছো? তোমার বাবারে কেন এত মানে দুঃখ কষ্ট দেয়? এটা মুম্বাই না, কি করবো এই টাকা দিয়া? Such is the reaction I got, and I have wasted 2 years coming here. And with that, I think Devraj can highlight more because you must be walking on the same path and then having sleepless night almost every day, and sometimes you might be quarreling in your family also for that.
I'm not sure about the last part, but thank you so much for. I largely agree with what Vishanuddha said, but I would also love to add something here. I'm sure what Madam said, she said from her perspective, and there was some experience probably leading her to that. Um, you see, it is a very complex ecosystem that we are discussing. When we talk about responsibility and, like Sunil sir said, common sense of journalists while generating content, and about quality of content, ethical values, everything that has been raised here. It's a very complex ecosystem. It's very easy to perhaps raise fingers because there are issues. There is no denying that, right? We do have fake news. We do have ethically questionable issues. There were historically blunderous issues of questionable ethical activities like the private treaty, right? And even in the northeastern states, there have been such issues where, like B. Sainath used to say famously, the media, business, political clout had been at work, right? And but we have to understand that, like Vishanuddha said, media is not a standalone institution, right? It's what we generate content. It's a product. There are essential buyers. In today's world, though, I would love to talk about the current media ecosystem because I've been a digital journalist for the last 8 years. Before that, I used to be in print. Vishanuddha here is pretty much senior to me, but I have been working here for like 17, 18 years. So, there is a very huge paradigm shift today when we talk about digital media content. A colleague of mine was discussing the other day, and certain digital media editorial policy had instructed that colleague of mine, we don't want news. And it's a news organization, the employee who used to work there I'm talking about. And that colleague of mine was told that we don't want news, right? Why? You see, today, the primary consumer group of digital media content in India is the age group between 18 to 30. There are, of course, like previously we used to do a lot of guesswork while generating content, right? Which kind of content might use 10 things that you would want to see before you die. This kind of content were there early when we are looking at digital media content. But these days, we have got Google Analytics, we have got Chartbeat, we have got so much kind of determining factors to find out which content is working out, which age group is reading them, what is the prime time for reading them, from which geographical location they are reading, what is the per page and per line sort of author engagement time, readership engagement time. So we find that there is a huge drop in the serious news readership among the new generation readers of India. People love a good scandal. That's what it is. People love some sleazy stuff. While we should really stay aware of these things, people love, gossips, speculations, churning out, lines after lines in the name of analysis. This is what really goes on. You find out, if you could have access to all these digital media analytical platforms, I could show you that a serious news about anywhere in Northeast would generate you less than 500 views per day, right? Whereas a small news on how there is a thing called Tenga Patta in Nagaland, right? It's a bitter tasting wine. It's a wine when a creeping plant. And you could make a kind of paste, an achar out of it, which is basically a feature non-news kind of story that generated 30,000 hits in one day with a huge engagement time. And non-state actors' rebellious attack in some northeastern state generated 250 views. Why would your organization pay you for writing it? Now you might talk a lot about this is not ethical, we should do, but at the end of the day, it is a product. If there are no buyers, there is no writer behind it, and that's the end of the talk. right? So perhaps there is a huge requirement to rope in, if any possible stakeholders could be there, because I doubt the business can be really influenced by simple seminar talk, right? This is the ecosystem. So if there were possibly some stakeholders, all the university faculty members, stakeholders, business people, researchers, they should all brainstorm. If there can be at all any stakeholder who could be roped in, so there could be resurgence of serious media content. Only then the entire point of being ethical, being value added, all these things really matter. Right? You see, there is a huge revenue stream division we see today. India's print media, like all of you media graduates must have already read, I'm sure Deepak sir, Sunil sir, Dubey sir have already taught you these things, right? So India's print media has a long history before independence, right? If you talk about Hickey's Gazette, even around that time there were so many other handwritten stuff going around. From there to now, predominantly India's media had been print media driven, right? The revenue stream of print media was mostly advertising. And when advertising comes in question, states like Tripura, I'm sure Vishnu will agree with me, that in consumer states like Tripura, advertising is hugely dependent on the state machinery, right? So naturally there is a huge focus on political news, law and order, crime news. These are the primary sectors that used to be, I'm reiterating myself, not anymore. These used to be the primary focus sectors, thrust sectors of media reporting, and they were the lead news, second lead, whatever. These were the stories. But when you come to digital media, the revenue stream is completely changed. It's not advertising anymore. It's author engagement, right? Readership engagement. And we live in a society where Madam was rightly pointing out that everybody is busy behind the screens. There have been a word 2 years back, the Oxford Dictionary introduced it as the new edition of the dictionary of the year. It was called brain rot, right? What is it? That massive. We live in an information society. I'm sure you all have read about information society, information superhighway. These are all terms you must have read. So we live in a society that is hyper-inflated in the terms of content that we consume every day, and that kind of content, when you're bombarded with, our brain gets less time to process it, let alone understand and remember. This huge bombardment of content has led to less of cognitive abilities, right? So when such thing happens, our mindset instinctually gravitates towards less engaging content, right? I would not say they are less important or so, because that would be judgmental. And these days, value is very important in saying anything about anything. Sure.
See, Devras has really pointed out very important features of the information superhighway and the network society, as in the words of Manuel Castles to other scholars, which is very apt. And even if you look at the logarithm, they hardly understand human emotions. They only understand the computer language of the how much it reached, right? And I think all the three panelists has beautifully explained about the media scenario. Now, do any one of you have any questions to ask these legends? You have? Anyone? All right. Maybe we can continue the next session. And for the first session of panel discussions, we end up here, and we'll continue after the break. And again, the time is all for you, Devika. The volunteers, please clear off these things. I think you must have forgotten to felicitate